Hey there, and thanks for clicking. Stick around to the end of the video for some exciting info about my Discord server and new products my company is working on. I appreciate you watching, and I can't wait to share what's coming next. They say the best way to fail at something is to never try at all. But I have a working brain, and I know that you can fail spectacularly even if you do try. Here's how you can do just that. If your front-end website is still running, you may have gotten complaints along the lines of, my data doesn't show up on other devices, or the website doesn't save my data at all. This can also be an issue if you have things that need to run even if a user isn't connected to the site. That's where backend code comes in. Backend is all about running your main application logic on a separate server and using it to push and pull data from your database. So the most logical fix for this is just to have whatever your server you're using call your front-end function anyway. Well, what if you want a little more functionality than that? For starters, we have to set up the server. Part of this is doing things like setting up your APIs, express endpoints, and what have you. A lot of these require secure keys written in your code to access them. So what do? We just write the keys in. Why waste time with environment variables when you can just hard code your secrets directly into your source code? Better yet, commit them to GitHub for safekeeping. The world deserves to know your database password is password123. Now, how do we store data? In a database, of course.
But Fergie, I already have everything in local storage.
To that I say, normally that would be just sufficient. But the customer is complaining that they can't get their data on their cell, so a DB we must use. Now, choosing the right database is also important. Believe it or not, different applications have different data types, schemas, and business needs, so it wouldn't be wise to choose a DB type willy-nilly. Typically, SQL databases are used for data that is stored in a more traditional spreadsheet format. They offer rigid schemas that are great for already proven patterns, while NoSQL uses JSON and is designed to store data in complex patterns that SQL might not be able to do. It can do what SQL does by proxy of its design, but not in the same structure. So we'll just go ahead and use NoSQL DB for everything. But what if you have different data sets that relate to one another? That's never going to happen. SQL DBs love to brag about how they're relational DB structure, but no one has ever needed to use that in production. Okay. We have our server, we have our database, and our glorious front end all ready to go. How the heck do we get these guys to communicate? This is where you're going to have to rev up your server engines. You need to write these little things called endpoints in your server to handle specific tasks the server needs to complete. There are libraries out there like Express.js that make this process easier and faster, but why work smarter when you can just work infinitely harder? Forget Express, just write all your server code, port listening code, and endpoints directly in raw Node.js. Think of it as an artisan's way of backend development. Who needs convenience when you can have the satisfying frustration of reinventing the wheel? And here's where the fun begins. Once your server is online and listening to your port, hopefully something obscure like port 49151, because who needs predictable ports, you need to set up your front end to talk to your server. Don't use any of those fancy libraries or abstractions for handling API calls. Nope, just hardcode those fetch requests directly into your HTML. Bonus points if you forget to handle errors or responses properly. Remember, chaos is the ultimate art in web development. And now for the finale. You need the server to speak to the DB, get the data from it, and if needed, send it back to the front end. Remember how NoSQL allows you to store data in dynamic ways? You can also call on data in dynamic ways as well from NoSQL. But you also could just summon the entire database, then use some code in your server to sit for what you're looking for. Performance issues, you say? You do know you're a JavaScript dev, right? Performance isn't something that comes within our line of work. Forget optimization. You're here to make something that works. And of course, by works, I mean eventually gets the job done, sort of. Speed is for backend engineers. Wait a minute. Just get the job done. Pretty much everyone expects JX to be jank anyway, so no harm, no foul. You can send data back to the front end in the same way. Just send the whole dang DB query to the browser. If you're really worried about customer satisfaction, just redirect them to that Fruit Ninja knockoff you made while they wait, and then send them back once the data has been processed. So, did you get this one to work? Has Google asked you what your secret is yet? In all seriousness, just like in any programming language, if you follow best practices, you'll be just fine. No, JavaScript is not a particularly fast language, and we shouldn't hyper-focus on performance. However, from a customer standpoint, if your code is well written with the best practices in mind, no end user is ever going to notice or care about a few microseconds of speed being off. As web developers, we should focus more on reliability and scalability in our code. Rather than asking, is my web app fast enough, we should be asking, can my app handle millions of users without breaking? You can't achieve that if you don't follow the best practices. Do you agree? Do you have any other not so best practices or even blunders you encountered in your own code? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you like this video, and join the Discord in the description. Times are tough, with rising costs for food, gas, housing, you name it. It's harder than ever to keep your money where it belongs, in your pocket. That stress, I get it. It's overwhelming. That's why I'm working on Trinity Capital, the ultimate app for learning financial literacy. It's super realistic, with a clean design and built-in lessons to help you master your money. And the best part, it works on any device with an internet connection. Right now, you can test it for free. Join the Discord server, try it out, and help shape the app while it's still in development. Links in the description, so check it out.